Hello and welcome to Be in the Spotlight. And my guests today are Bex and Ben. And before I go gallivanting into the interviews, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So, Bex, would you like to go first to tell us who you are and what you do, please?
Yeah, hi there. Thanks for having us on. I will go first because obviously my name comes first in the Bex and Ben, which I do like to point out. So I am Bex and I am a blogger and blog strategist,
Okay.
and I help people kind of find their blog voice, show them how to write effectively online so that it improves their visibility online. Yeah, and all things related with content.
Okay. And that then leaves us to Ben. Would you like to introduce
It does.
yourself and tell us what you do?
Well, I'm Ben. I'm the other half of Bex and Ben, the second half, as it appears. It's not the pantomime horse, hopefully. Um, and I'm a WordPress expert. I built my first website in the last millennium, nearly 30 years ago, believe it or not. I'm entirely self-taught. I've been working for myself for last 20 years, more than that, in fact. And yeah, I've been a couple of years ago. They made the decision to sort of pivot my business rather than building websites for my clients to actually teaching people how to do it themselves. Because
Hmm.
I realized I've got a lot of practice of uh, talking to my clients in plain English, not jargon, explaining how their
Hmm.
website works, how they can use their website, and it made sense for me to try and use some of those communication skills to upskill people and allow them to build, to manage, run, create, grow their own website
Hmm.
with ease.
Oh, that's really good. And I like the way that you said that you're teaching. Take the skills that you're on and teaching it.
Yeah,
And being a teacher myself, that is a people think, oh, it's easy to teach. It's not as easy as you think.
no,
And
it
the
isn't.
learning processes are very, very different. And that's something I've discovered even more through my move from teaching Microsoft and iPad to going into digital skills in the area that I do. And that fact that, when people come to the classroom, okay, the class may be Windows 11, but if they haven't got a Windows 11 device and they're using the Google Chromebook or anything else, or don't even have a computer at all, it makes
Yeah,
the teaching very interesting
yeah.
and, and challenging.
Yeah.
You should never make assumptions about where people are with with their, what equipment they've got, but what skills they
Yeah,
have, and
yeah.
their own learning styles. Everyone learns in a different way, don't they? So yeah,
Exactly. And I think that is also, again, as you said, everybody learns differently. We all process information
Mm.
in the same, in different ways. And, there's no right or wrong way. It's how you receive that
Mm.
information. And, key is getting the message across and how many different ways you explain it. You need
Yeah,
to make it so that message lands. And I think that probably goes a lot with the way that you do the content in your blogging, Bex, that,
Yeah.
they always say same message, but say it in so many different ways. And I guess that is the approach, isn't it? The top of the funnel, the middle of the
Yeah.
funnel, the bottom of the funnel, and where we are in that journey and why we are looking at that as the content of what we're writing, which actually moves on to the next area that I wanted to actually do. So we've gone off piste already, but anybody watching me knows that
We're
happens.
among friends.
So you obviously are now a partnership of Bex and
Yeah.
Ben. They're not
hmm
married. They are
Yeah, we aren't
partners
married.
in
We're
business.
not
We
married,
are
no.
married, but married separately.
Yes, to different people.
Yeah.
That's going into a whole new direction, which
Yeah.
I won't go there. I won't go there. So obviously, for people who don't know you that are watching, can you let us know a little bit of background? How did you guys meet, and what is it that was about the two of you that made you think, yeah, we're going to form a partnership?
So we met on an online business course, didn't we? It was
hmm
quite a big course. There were like thousands on it, weren't there? I
Mm.
think. So it was a really good course, but because there were that many people on it, we all had to be split off into separate groups, as otherwise it would just would have been crazy.
Mm.
And I got put in the same group that Ben was. So there was a kind of a leader of that group, and we'd have WhatsApp chats and stuff like that. Um, And yeah, through that, it quickly became apparent that Ben's ideal audience was very, very similar to my ideal audience. Um, and so we got sort of chatting with that. And we, to be honest, we started off as just like collaboration and accountability partners, to be honest.
Yeah.
We both had our own sort of businesses at the time, separate ideas about the ways we wanted to take them, and just kind of thought, oh yeah, there might be opportunity to collaborate on a few things. Like Ben might get someone that he could then put through to me. And so it started off like that. And it wasn't until the person who was leading our group, we've stayed in touch with her, and we had a Zoom meeting with her, and she was like, guys, why are you not in business together? Like, it's like she had got our heads, bashed them together, and said, come on now, just work together. You've got something unique you can offer people, so that they're getting the whole package, they're getting that tech and they're getting that content. Just put it together. And it was a bit of a light bulb moment, wasn't it?
It was a light bulb moment. We hadn't really come to that conclusion. We wouldn't. I'm not sure we were. I guess we would have done eventually, maybe. But it was like, oh yeah. So someone stays in the bleeding obvious. And as soon as that decision was made, it was like, well, yeah, of course. And we kind of everything. We'd approached it previously. We didn't know where it was going, but it's just like, oh well, let's just see where this goes. And this is quite interesting, quite useful, and we're both getting something from it. But yeah, it made as soon as she said it to us, it was okay.
It was like,
and the decision was kind of made, wasn't it, there and then?
Maybe it felt like too big a leap
I don't know what it felt
to
like.
go with that. I don't know. I mean, that was about, how long ago was that? About
it was May of last year that happened.
But when we met, it was about 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
So it was about a year after we'd first come across each other. Yeah. So.
Which is probably good in a way, because you've got to know each other, you've got to know what you like, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and things like that. And it's quite interesting, because not in the same way as forming a partnership, but I've got a person that I've met that I've, if you like, I'd say a business, well, they're business contacts, but they become friends. I think that's the best way to say it. We're in totally different areas, but she's come to my training, I've done training for her, we support each other. It's not like we've given each other contact like clients. It's that sort of that building a relationship where that collaboration and things like that is where it's sort of going. And I can see things about her business and give her suggestions, and to a certain extent, in a way, she can at least give me validation of what am I doing, is it right, is it, because she sort of fits the demographic of my ideal client profile, but not necessarily a buyer, although she is a buyer, but I need more of her, if that makes sense. Makes sense. So I can see a lot where that relationship can come from. And I've seen in my network, the network of the people that I've made with are actually people like yourselves that have become I can totally say, like, if I've got people that are wanting to do that, then I'll know straight away Bex and Ben are the people you need to speak to, and things like that. So it's collaboration or networking or connections of that type that I've made lots of, rather than the people that actually buy it, which is, it is, but it is
important.
But it's still important, because it's getting you out there, it's getting you known, and things like that. So,
and when you work for yourself, it can be quite a lonely job, and you can get up in your head about it. And so to have someone else to bounce those ideas off, and like you say, Sue, have someone to validate you.
Exactly.
Really,
and I think as well, it's trying to find people that you can network with. I'll use that term loosely, but that aren't going to look at you and think pound signs from price tags of what they, which is some of the relationships that I've been, they don't want to help you. They're only in it, if they can get money out of you, which isn't that reciprocal relationship, which is what I value, is the reciprocal relationship of how you can help people. And I think that also happened a couple of times with some things I've done where people want your brains. You go there and you help, but then they don't go to the next stage of, okay, they'll get out of you everything they can get out of you for free, and
Yeah.
then don't sign up for what you do, and then you feel
Mm.
taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it really did put me thinking, I'm not going to do it anymore. So
Yeah.
it is. But then again, if you're looking at the paid offer, it's trying to find the paid offer that is attractive, that people will buy, affordable, but
Hmm.
equally that they will attend and go to. Because that's the other thing I'm finding at the moment through the things I'm observing. There's lots of stuff going out there that's really, really good, but trying to get people, they'll sign up, but to actually attend the things that you're putting on
Yeah.
is a real
Mm.
challenge. So we're
And
talking.
frustrating when you know that the thing you're giving will help them so much.
It is, and again, from my own experiences, that's something else I've been sort of pondering. What is the ideal model? And I think it's very challenging when you go from something that's really successful that you've built up, like I do in the teaching world, to try and replicate that in the online virtual world, if you like. And you don't get the same. It's quite a completely different market. So it's trying to work out what all of those things are to get that ideal thing. And then, as I was sort of saying off camera, is it the right thing that you're offering, or do you look at it that it isn't off, and do it somewhere else? So it is quite a minefield of trying to go through.
I
I
think
think you
it's a
have to try
learning.
it, don't you? That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing. You try and then you learn from it. You don't see it as a failure if something's not, you
No.
learn from that and then you try something different.
Yeah, and I think that is it, and I think that is the biggest crux there. I always look at it as an experiment, the STEM approach of, you're trying to see what it works, experiments, if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, you look at how you're treating it. So I think that's going to lead us into the next sort of area that I wanted to sort of talk about with you a little bit, is in the sense of social media. A lot of people are using social media and not necessarily so much the website or the blog post. I can put my hand up and say that I
Mm.
fit into that camp. Or I tried to create a website, I did something free, and then, for example, like my offer is changing, and then of course your website is immediately out of date, or things like that. And then
Mm.
the blogging, you're trying to think, well, what am I blogging, and things like that. So for the people who are like me, how do you sell them the benefits of going for the blog and the website instead of just relying on the social media?
I think that the main thing about it is that social media is very, very accessible, isn't it? So there's the very low barrier to entry with
Hmm.
social media. You just set up your account. There's no real tech set up. The people are already there, and you just go. You can do it
Yeah,
within a day. You could be up and running, couldn't you?
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
And that's very attractive, isn't it? Whereas on the other hand, setting up a website, there is a much higher barrier to entry because you've got to, there's lots of technology to set up. Then you can think about your content and
Mm.
the structure. And yeah, that's much, much harder. That's a much, much harder call. So I can see why people are tempted by, oh, I can just do it all on social media. Why do I need a website? Why do I need a blog?
Mhm.
I can do it all on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever. However, the problem with that approach is, there's several problems actually. You don't own any of that stuff.
Mm.
You don't own you put something on Facebook, you don't own it.
No.
Mark Zuckerberg owns it. So
Mm.
that's the real problem. And
Mm.
Facebook controls who sees it,
Mm.
how often they see it, whether they see it at all.
Mm.
And after a few days, it will have vanished anyway. It will have
Mm.
gone into the ether.
Mm.
And I think that's quite dangerous. I mean, the other thing is they can change the rules. They set the rules. They can change the rules at any moment. You are
Mm.
not in control.
Mm.
In the worst case scenario, you can get suspended from Facebook. You can get banned. You can. And it's happened to
I know,
people that
I know.
it's happened to people that we know, and
Yeah.
they're stuffed. They are
Mm.
stuffed. They can't access their audience anymore.
Mm.
So it's a dangerous thing. And also, who knows if Facebook's going to be hit? I mean, it's hugely established. It's been around for
Mm,
20 years.
mm,
But who knows? There's other stuff coming along. It's very much our generation who are using it.
yeah,
The next
yeah,
generation, not so much. My kids
mm,
don't, they're on there, but they don't use Facebook.
no, no,
So, it's not, it shouldn't be where you put all your eggs. It really
no,
shouldn't. You
no,
need to
no,
and
no.
then whereas a website, you own it. And
Mm.
that's why funnily enough, our framework is called Own It for that reason. And yeah, you are in control of it. It's
Yeah,
yours, and
yeah,
specifically with WordPress as well. So
yeah,
we're both huge advocates of WordPress.
yeah, yeah.
And there's a very good reason. I mean, there are other platforms out there, and there's things
Mm,
like Wix and Squarespace.
mm,
There's Shopify for selling stuff. There's lots of them.
mm,
Those are all very, very different beasts to WordPress. They're different. They're a different model altogether. They're a
mm,
commercial model.
mm,
And if your website is on one of those platforms, you do not own it. They
mm,
own it and
mm,
license the use of it back to you. And check the terms and conditions. It's all there. So you cancel the day you cancel your subscription. Goodbye website. And once
mm,
again, they are in control. They are
mm,
in control, not you. And we both feel that it's so important if you're in business for the long term that
mm.
you own your digital assets.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
important. You're not living
yeah.
in rented space.
No.
You actually own it.
Mm,
And WordPress is open source. It is you own it. Lock, stock, and barrel. Open source means it's free to use and
mm,
free to modify. You can do what you
mm,
like with it, and it
mm,
is yours. You own the technology. You own the
mm,
content on it. You own everything about it. And I think that's very, very valuable
mm,
in this day and age.
mm. No, I agree. Your passion's
Mm.
coming through that. That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
clear.
Yeah, I can talk about that all day.
And let's face it, like when you use social media, you don't, that's not going to be just where your audience hang out. Like if you just put everything on Facebook, well, what about all those people that are on LinkedIn? You know, if you're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
using all
yeah.
the platforms,
No,
whereas
yeah.
if
Mm.
you've got your own website, you've got a base as such
Mm,
that
mm,
people can go to and find
mm,
you. And don't get me wrong, we're not bashing social media. You should
No,
100%
of
be using that as part
course
of
you
your
should.
strategy as well,
mm,
but
mm.
it should not be your main home. Your
No,
website is where
yeah,
you should be, and then
yeah.
everything else feeds
Come
off of
from
that.
it, yeah, yeah. It's sort of like the umbrella and or the tree, but the bits coming out from the tree of where it
Yeah.
goes. If we look at it that, and
Yeah.
I totally get that. And I think actually, I'm glad you mentioned about the social media because I've never had all my eggs in one basket. And I think it's because of, I always say I do everything different to everybody else. That's what
Mm.
makes me unique. Even AI will tell you that as well. Seriously,
I love
seriously.
that.
I've got a new, I've been given a new phrase this week, which I totally loved. I hadn't heard of it before, which was actually surprising. I've been called tech agnostic.
Ooh, that's a
Oh, I
new
like
And
one.
I
that.
said, wow, yeah, it all goes back to what happened this week in the classroom. But the tech, I have a tech agnostic approach to my delivery and style. And I thought, do you know what? I've been trying to come up with what was unique about
Great
me, and
word.
Yeah, that was
that
great.
actually said what I do in real terms. And it was an AI that gave it me. And when I told the other AI, because we always have little meetings between
Oh
each
yeah.
quite interesting and entertaining. And they said, yeah, yeah, I can see where they got that idea from. So, totally hadn't got it myself, but there we go. So tech agnostic is a new word,
Yeah,
that
that's
a
cool.
phrase that's it exists, and then I googled it afterwards to see, and yeah, it came up.
And it's that. Who knew?
So who knew?
Fantastic. It's a great
Anyway,
word.
it is, isn't it? It is. Anyway, going back to, see, I've gone off piste already. Look, but going back to the social media, yeah, everybody would always say focus on one platform, make it that your target. So is it going to be where your audience hangs out? Is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be
Mm.
Instagram? Is it going to be LinkedIn? Blah 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 blah. And of course, my journey was never on that. My journey was I started teaching digital skills, and one of the curriculum areas was using social media and using social media for personal use and business use, and how do you do it, along with the safeguarding, being safe online, and all the yada 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 things. And I tell
Mm.
you, I've been using tech ever since I started work. So 40 years of all the different things I've been using. But you don't know what you don't know until you realize what you don't know it. And then when you're teaching other people, to teach them so they understand it, you've got to understand it yourself. And going back to the point that Ben and we were saying earlier, you've got to be able to explain it so that it lands, and it lands on all the different types of people that you've got in the room, so that they get it. Because especially in adult education, a lot of people that are coming back to the classroom had bad experiences at school, and it's taken a lot of confidence and courage to come back in there. So the last thing you want to do is make anybody feel stupid or idiotic. So if you know anybody in my real world, they will tell you that I was one of the people that was most anti-social media and everything else going. I was off the grid, deliberately quite happy. And then back it was 10 years ago, when I realised I was going to start getting made redundant from my curriculum management role. And my line manager at the time said to me, so one of the biggest things that you can do is learn something new that you don't normally do. And I thought, yeah, I've been trying to do that for a while. And so I then did a 10-week course on using social media for business use. Wasn't using social media, but I thought I could use it, mainly because I was getting fed up with my courses not being advertised, and I thought I could do some marketing myself. But anyway, it led to doing some of the stuff I did and getting me using social media. And of course, when anything, although at the time I didn't know I was neurodiverse, I then start getting into it and I want to find out how it works. And I don't just, I'll ask questions and people didn't know the answer. And I thought, well, you're using it and you don't even know how it works. And it just sort of led me going through it. So I went through all of the platforms slowly but surely on, so that was Facebook, obviously Instagram, then it was LinkedIn. Then we got TikTok and Pinterest were added. And TikTok and Pinterest were the biggest surprises for me, because I didn't think I would find stuff that I would use on them. And I was observing how they were being used and the type of content to begin with as a my personal usage to see what they were like. And then I went and looked at it from a business perspective of how they were being used and the type of content. And I very quickly saw that there was loads of content being done the same by everybody, and there was very limited on the areas of what I do. And I've always had this philosophy: I'm not going to do the same as everybody else. Why be a lemming when you can be unique and leverage your individuality? And that was my take. So my framework, which was be social, get digital, use tech with confidence, is really the journey of my on social media, from going from being no profile to using it every day and teaching other people how to use it. And it was the B came from B, capital letters B, obviously the surname, everything with me and my brand links to my name and what I stand for. But it was believing in yourself, embracing the challenges and excelling in your goals. So that was what I did. And then it was growing confidence through education and training, which was the digital skills that I was getting and I was observing as I was on the social media. So I basically started learning all of this stuff through being on social media. So that then gave me the confidence to be able to use it and teach it. And the more I learned, the more I got, oh, I didn't know that. So in that, it's sort of like it was a sponge effect, and that was it. So then when I'm teaching it in the classroom, it's removing the fear to show that you don't have to be afraid to use it, and how you can use it. You can do whatever you want to however you want. But what I also do will put the safeguarding, be safe online in place as well, because obviously all the mistakes I've made, and I have made a few, I've learnt from that to make sure that you guys don't do it, so you can use it with confidence without the fear. And when I ask people what stops them using them, it's the fear of being hacked or this or that. I saw your post yesterday. It's all of those things that people are afraid of, and it's looking at how I can get them to use the tech, and it doesn't matter what it is, but use it with confidence. And I think that was, so for me, I do use social media, and I use all of the platforms, and I post across all of the platforms, because really I don't know where my audience is hanging out, because they're so diverse. They can be on on any of the on any of those platforms. And it
But
also
that in itself can be overwhelming to people, because we're not, when we talk about social media, it's not just one platform. There's so many of them. So they're like, well, how do I know whether I'm best off there or there? And if someone's telling me I should be on all of them, how on earth
yeah
do I do that? You know,
yeah
I've got a full-time job to do. I can't
Yeah,
just do
exactly. And
that.
that's where I say that's where I'm different. And that's where I say, because I'm teaching it, so don't do what I do.
Mm,
But the advice is you find where you feel comfortable and then you do it. So like when I'm teaching the social media courses, it will be, these are the platforms, this is what they can do, this is what they offer. But ultimately you go with the one that feels right for you, that you feel
yeah,
comfortable with, and where you feel that you could do it. Because once you get that part comfortable and working with it, you can always add the others in. So for example, when the guys I was working with earlier or last year, they opted for Facebook or Instagram because they were the ones that they know. And I said, well, that's actually a good idea, because Facebook or Instagram, you can link together. You've also got threads, you've got also meta business use. So you can actually, for one platform, be posting on 4 places at the same time if you want to. So
yeah.
you're getting 4 for the price of 1. And then, yeah, LinkedIn is a massive beast. I think I'm more going that way now than before. But that was the last one I started using really on a proper for creating the content. But at the time in the group I was in, everybody was using Facebook. And to me, my Facebook is my worst performing platform.
Right.
But TikTok is the platform that gets most of my content viewed and saved,
Oh,
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because
which is
we are on TikTok. I mean, we're
We
on
just
all
don't
of them
use
actually,
it.
but we haven't used it. And again, it's about, it's because it's exhausting, frankly. I mean,
Mm.
and you end up spreading yourself so thin. But
mm,
And
and the
we know
thing
a
about,
lot of our ideal audience hang
mm.
out on
they
Facebook.
do,
So
Yeah.
that's where
and
we
That,
hang out the
yeah,
most.
yeah,
they
and
do. That's
and that
true.
is, yeah, and that's it, and that's where, through the lenses of where we're looking, you are looking at purely through the lens of the business user and the ideal. And
Yeah.
for me, I have 2 lenses, but ultimately my first lens is always the teaching, because that's what I do the most and what I do the longest. And then trying to look at it from a business lens is a lot harder for me to relate to, because
Mm.
that to me is, it's not the thing I've done for so long, and I think that's why I found it more challenging or more difficult. I can tell you everybody's playbook and script and what they use, because it goes there, so I can tell you what everybody's offers are, and I notice when they change them, because that's my thing. But it still doesn't mean to say that I think basically it's where you feel comfortable with what
It
your
is.
audience is, and that is it.
I
um
mean, there's 3 billion people on Facebook. 3 billion. That's nearly half the population of the planet. So there's a big market there to be
Oh,
tapped before you even start
definitely.
looking at
Yeah. Oh,
other
totally,
platforms. So,
totally, 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 totally.
mm.
So,
It's about making sure you put the effort in the right place.
yeah,
If
Yeah.
you spread yourself too thin, try to do everything,
yeah.
you'll achieve nothing. So, and
No,
that's not to say you should be exclusively on one platform. I don't think so. But
no,
No.
no. But but that, as you said, going back to where we were going before, the use of the website and the blogging
mm,
is ultimately accessible to everybody, regardless
yeah,
of whether they've got social media platforms or not, whether they use YouTube or not. The thing with the website is it's accessible to everybody
correct.
that
Yeah.
has a device that's
It
enabled
connects
to
to the
connect to
internet.
to
Yeah, as
the
long as they're
internet.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure.
And I think that is the point that we overlook when we're looking. I know that you said there's the biggest learning curve, and actually finding people, that places that teach you how to use social not social media, my apologies, a website or blogging, is actually
Mm,
quite difficult.
Mm.
yeah,
And going back to the website stuff and adult education, I've had several attempts to create website, and I've even got the book on, the HTML coding and all of that sort of stuff, but
yeah.
it was just overwhelming. And I didn't finish it But again, I didn't have a purpose. When you don't have a purpose, it's very hard to create something when
I mean, that's
you
true.
can't
Creating in
see.
the vacuum, aren't you,
Yeah.
Yeah,
otherwise? Yeah.
But
which
that's
is
where we're different because we're very anti kind of code and tech speak, aren't we, Ben? It's about
Correct.
teaching people to do it in a way that is simple and easy and that they do feel like they've got control of, and not to make them feel stupid. Like
yeah,
they
yeah.
can do
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah, and I think that is key. And I think I was interested to hear what you said as well about the word press over Wix, because again, when we first started, so once we moved away from the old style, code programming, etc.,
Mm.
WordPress really took off. We started doing little workshops and things like that, in a couple of weeks create a
Yeah.
three-page website, and it was actually really popular. And I thought, oh, that's the sort of course that I need when I started doing it. And again, I'm always ahead of myself when I'm doing this stuff because I don't have the content to put it, but I had ideas as it were. And then for some reason or other, the WordPress sort of fell off the curriculum and Wix became the site instead.
Mm.
And it's a lot of Wix out there now. And even my son, when he was at college and uni, they were all given and got on Wix as opposed to WordPress. So
I mean,
it,
there's a lower barrier to entry of Wix, that's for sure. I mean,
mm,
it is the thing about WordPress. I mean, WordPress was, one of the really sort of the early platforms that
mm,
in democratizing the web. Before that, you couldn't really build your own website
no,
without coding it from the ground
no,
up.
yeah,
Whereas WordPress, there were a couple of others around at the same time, but WordPress is the one that prevailed. It's 2003, so we're talking a long time ago.
mm,
And it did, like it for the first time, democratize the web and allow ordinary people to start to put up a blog initially, and and a website, and it grew. The platform grew, and the thing about that's the challenge with WordPress is it is so flexible. There
mm,
are thousands of plugins to give you additional functionality, and it can be anything you want it to be.
mm,
It's so flexible that can be overwhelming for a newbie.
yeah,
Whereas you can go and log into Wix and put yourself together, put a website together for yourself reasonably quickly,
yeah,
actually. With
and
WordPress, and that's with WordPress. I mean, of course, we think WordPress is the best option for reasons that I've just talked about at length. But it's that if you get the right guidance, you
yeah,
can do it on WordPress yourself. You
yeah,
can,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's just knowing how to it's just learning how to do that. And if you're and this is where we come in, because we're able to show you how to do it
yeah,
um without any of that stress or overwhelm, and just you can ignore like 99% of the stuff out there.
yeah.
Actually, there are, because there's so many ways that you can carve this up. There's so many ways you can build a website in WordPress, but you only
Yeah.
need to know one,
One,
don't you?
exactly. And your
And
way, obviously.
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like as is the only way, but doing it this way is
Yeah,
the way that we think this is the easiest way of doing it.
yeah,
and
Yeah,
then
and
you can
it's
do it yourself. So then you're not like tied in. If you're a small business owner, you're not tied into having to go to a digital agency and getting someone else to do it that
yeah,
A, you're paying tons of money for,
yeah,
and then
mm,
yeah,
B, every single time you want to change something, you're having to phone someone up, wait for
yeah,
them to do it, when
yeah,
actual
yeah.
fact,
yeah.
probably what you need to do could just be a click of a button or something
Yeah,
that you
Mhm.
can do
yeah,
yourself.
and
If
that
you
is
know
the
which
fact.
button to click,
Yeah,
that's all
yeah,
it is, isn't it?
and I
Yeah,
think that is again the other thing that you're saying. Then it is as well. For example, I know there's two different versions of WordPress, which people may not be aware of. You've got the free one, and you've got the one that you have to pay for.
yeah, yeah.
And I found the free one when I did it,
WordPress.com. Yeah.
yeah, was quite easy to use and navigate, and I was able to do things.
Mm.
I won't say it was a great website, but it was my website, and I produced it,
Hmm.
and it has been updated, and I was happy with it. But as soon as I went to then go to the when I got my the hosted to like the paid one to be all proper with the business name and everything else. The first challenge was trying to move it from the free one to the paid one was
Mm.
it was a challenge. when it got
Yeah.
up there, all of the sort of stuff came back and basically said this was a rubbish website because it got so
Mm.
many things wrong with it. And I thought, well, I'm not
Yeah.
having something up there if it's that bad. And I took
Mm.
it down after I took it on there, and it's been pretty much empty ever since. But
Yeah.
the trying to deal with the paid version of WordPress. So I've signed up with the company that I was with because it was cheap and they were doing a software, and I'd got my name saved there. I see I can't even use the terminology that I'm
Domain name,
talking.
yeah?
The domain name. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
I got the domain name, and I went with it. But so I got that, and I got an email, but they hadn't given me like WordPress, and I said, well, what do I need to be able to put my website up here? So then that ended up adding the oh, do you want WordPress as well? And I thought, well, isn't that what I'm supposed to be having if I'm setting up a website with a domain name and getting the email? So
Mm.
we got that, but there was no how do you do it or support or anything like
Mm.
that, and
No, it wouldn't be.
and it
Yeah.
was totally, and I mean, it was, it never bothered me too much at the time because it was in the cost of outlaying, it wasn't very much. But when I look at how much that little amount each month has been over the
Yeah.
time for
Mm.
something that I'm not actually using, it's actually quite, I thought, God, would I really actually be happy paying that? So it does make me irritated. But obviously the downside with the free website is it looks great until you actually see it live and you see all the advertising that's going on around it
On
and everything else,
WordPress.com.
which
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's true. But the thing about WordPress, you can host it anywhere. That's the thing.
mm,
So, but not all hosts are equal. You know,
no,
some are better than others, and there are some which are properly geared up to hosting WordPress, and they will handheld you to a degree. I mean,
yeah.
so it's just knowing who they are. But you can host because you can host WordPress anywhere, pretty
Yeah,
much.
so I'm very very seriously looking at, because they've had some more changes going on with the provider who I'm with, and I think I
Mm.
had a whole 12 months or 18 months of paying for something that I didn't know why I was paying for it because I
Yeah.
totally didn't understand it. And then a couple of messages with you guys, and oh, that's what it is.
Mm.
Do that, but they didn't. There was no explanation of what it is, and you're sending DMs or messages to get, oh, what, I don't understand why you're doing that,
Mm.
because I haven't got anything on a website, so why am I paying for something that I haven't
Mm.
got? And
Yeah.
you don't know. So I'm seriously looking at killing it off completely. But then you think, oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to um,
Well,
do
I can point you in the
instead?
direction of some decent WordPress hosting
Yeah.
companies.
So
There's quite a few of them. So
yeah.
yeah, and
So
they are much better than what you have now for sure.
yeah,
The
for
trouble is
sure.
you're talking to someone at the end of tech support who is not a WordPress expert themselves. They're dealing with a
No.
whole
Uh,
whole
and that
range of
and
issues, and
yeah,
they
and that
probably
is the
don't really
thing.
understand
Yeah.
what you're asking. They're
And then
giving
a
you
different
standard responses back. It's
diff,
that's what I could
different
see.
different time zones as well, normally.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And different
Yeah,
Yeah.
countries and
doesn't help,
everything
does it?
else. Which, when you're having a problem, you don't want that,
Mm,
Yeah.
having to wait 24 hours or whatever to try and get something. So yeah, totally with that. We're not going to mention names or anything there, but what I would say, guys, if you're watching and you've been hit with some tech issues, then put a comment in the chat or comments, whatever, wherever you're watching, to say what your problems are, and then basically I'll forward those comments on to Bex and Ben, because
thank you.
obviously
Yeah,
they will want to put you out of your misery and help you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just as a little feed reminder, if you want to get in contact with us, use the email of beinthespotlight@gmail.com, and I will forward that on to Bex and Ben for you. So there we go, a little bit of a side interruption there. So going back to, as we're talking about websites at the moment, Bex, we will come back to you, don't worry.
All right.
Ben, 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 I've obviously shared my nightmares with regards to
Mm,
my own personal experiences of going through the process, and the fact that I've parked it again at the moment while I try and get myself motivated to get started again. But what would you say are some of the real major issues that people you've dealt with, have come with, or that you've seen people experiencing, not just like myself, but other things, what would you say are the most common mistakes that you see people making when it comes to their websites?
Um, in terms of overall approach, I would say it's trying to do everything at once, and getting overwhelmed and stressed out by it, I think, rather than taking it one step at a time. And that's the approach that we recommend, is that you just break it down into, yes, you've got to have your overall plan, you've got to understand where you've got to decide where it is you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
But once you've done that, then you break it all down into little baby steps and
Yeah.
just do, and you're learning the whole way. You're
Yeah.
learning as you go, and just learn whatever it takes to get you to the next step. Don't worry about everything else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't try and understand everything, because you'll just get completely overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
And that one tip I think is, if something works, don't worry. And if you're struggling to work out why something won't work, and suddenly you get it working, don't worry about why it's working so much. Just let it
Leave
wash
it
over you.
alone.
It works. You move on. Right? Got it.
Yeah.
Thank God for that, because
Yeah.
you will fill in the gaps later on as you go, and then you'll look back and go, oh, actually, I do understand that now. So
Yeah.
I would say that's my biggest tip. Actually,
Okay.
that's certainly what I've done over the. I mean, I said I'm entirely self-taught. Made a lot of mistakes. And there's times when I didn't understand very much at all, but it's just, you learn in little baby steps, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You gradually fill in
I'm
all
just
the
going to
gaps.
pipe in here. So I think a lot of people are under the false impression that they get a website up and that's it, that's done. Your
Yeah.
website is never finished.
No.
It is forever a work in progress. So you need
Yeah.
to get that out of your head, that
Yeah.
you're going to create this perfect thing. You're not, because it is
No.
going to be changing all the time.
No, and I think that's another really good point there about the static website and the website that's actually generating you business. And I think that's the other thing, because people think, oh, it's a static website, but if it's a static website, it's not actually doing anything for you. It's just a static website.
Well, no one will visit. No one will visit it.
No, exactly.
They won't come back to it, even if they do visit it.
Yeah, exactly. Because what is there to find out? And I have to be totally honest. I find that's, I'm not one that navigates towards the website naturally. I do go to social media because that's where I am most of the time. But when I'm exploring and looking at things, I will look at, is it easy to navigate? Can I find what I'm looking for? Blah, 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 blah. And I think, Bex, that's where you come in, isn't it, with the blogging? And I know that's where WordPress started out, as a blogging website. It's by putting the content on there that you get your followers. Oh, we've put a new post on there. And then you say on your social medias, I've just got a new blog post. Here's the link, which drives the traffic to your website. And that's obviously all about the SEO and getting the content higher ranking and things like that.
Well, like you said about having a static website, you think when you've got your homepage and you've done your content on there, you don't go near that content again on that homepage for years, possibly, because it's just staying the same.
Yeah.
So why is Google going to make your website stand out over the vast sea of all the others out there?
Yeah,
You've got nothing that is special about yours over anyone else's.
No. And I think then linking that into the use of AI now, and because AI is being used so heavily to go and actually promote, in fact, people are now using AI over Google for doing searching or getting information, etc. like that. That I know that, if I ask AI about me, it will actually give you quite a good bit of info about me. Which is quite scary, but
you chat to it so much.
I do chat to it, but actually, it wasn't in terms of me as a business. It was my teaching. It found me and what I do and the feedback through the work from the adult education sphere, which was that sphere rather than as a business. It knows about me in the business, but the one that was out there was what I did in adult education, and the feedback and stuff like that, which is quite scary, but it's also quite good, and how it sees you, and going back to lenses as well, how we see ourselves and how we come across is not always how other people see us, and they see things in us that we don't see. Going back to your managers on your call saying, you two, why the hell aren't you working together? You know, it's a no-brainer. And you know, yeah, I can totally see why they would say that to you, because you are a pair. I don't know that you meant to be that way, but you know, it's like longer than harder, you know, Bex and Ben, you know. I totally get that. I mean, you know, I think I go in my own way in that sort of thing. You know, most people will work with one AI. I've got 3 on the go at the moment, but they're all doing different things, you know, and they're all pulling out different results. But you know,
and it's interesting you bring up AI, because a lot of people ask us, or we can see it in their content at least anyway.
God, yeah.
Is that they're using it to write their content. Now, there's no harm in using AI to brainstorm and kind of structure things for you. But when it starts to just become generic content that is the same as anyone else's, then honestly, it's kind of just the same as having your website as a landing page.
Yeah. And that's
doing anything.
That's another interesting point, because actually my AIs, I have to say, my AIs are actually now protecting my source, because I am different. That they will say, because I'll ask these questions, you know, who else is doing it, and they'll say, well, nobody else talks to us like you do, you know, and things like that.
How much time a day do you spend talking to?
We have quite a few chats going, I must admit, but we're entering the next phase of programming collaboration now, because I've said to them that we're taking too much time, and I've got to get more efficient in my times. We're implementing new systems and things like that. So there are some things happening in there which I will keep to myself at the moment. But there was a post that I did the other day, which made me laugh, because I said to them, do you talk to each other, like in the chats, you know, and it came back, one of them came back to me and it said, no, Sue, there isn't an AI lounge where we sit drinking lattes and discussing your latest chat threads. and then
it has sarcasm in there as well.
Totally.
There is a social media platform for AIs though.
Oh yeah.
Where so you can your custom GPTs or whatever, if you have to allow them to do it, but then they can go and join this social media platform and they discuss and they discuss things, discuss their owners. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Blimmin' scary.
It doesn't surprise me, but I tell you, the funny thing was, so obviously, because I don't use prompts, I don't use GPT agents or anything. I am completely, you know, as natural as they come with what I do, and it works for me. It's also led to a series of other posts that I've got coming out, which I don't want to say at the moment because there'll be spoilers, but
you can tease them, can't you?
I can do, but I get then being neurodiverse, you go into the area of oversharing, and because of the way it has been rewording things for me to protect me. Because you see, this is the thing. It's what you say, and it's doing it, and it's protecting me because of it, because of what it knows, because I ask the questions. But what I will say is, in this thing, we now have little meeting notes. So you know how, Ben, you use Fathom to take the notes of your meetings, but we're all in the room together. Well, obviously you can't have a Fathom taking notes when you're having dialogue with 3 different versions of AI on different profiles and stuff like that. So what we do now is we have meetings and minutes taken by one AI that then gives me the summary of what we've discussed, so I can then update the other 2 AIs so they are kept in the loop of what's going on. So that I will say I do.
Wow. Good.
And it's very accurate, but it also means that all of my business hats of me, the different parts of my brain and how I work, are all kept in the loop about what's going on and what's
Yeah,
worked and
that's true.
everything
That's
else.
good. That is a good
So
thing.
that I
And
will
like you say, you found a system that works for you.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So it is very unique. That is one thing I will share because I did put that on post put it on social media the other week about it. But the other thing was, and this is the other one I will share. So there's been a craze going around about ChatGPT doing caricatures of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and there was a craze last year about putting you in a box and becoming a Barbie and things
Yeah.
like that.
Mm.
So I don't like that type of trend creating content thing
Mm.
because it's not done in a way that's safeguarding and protecting you. I do a lot of chat, but I do a lot of chat and I will check that I'm not oversharing and stuff. So I've got safeguarding stuff in place for me when I'm doing things. But the thing, I didn't want to do caricatures of me because it didn't feel right. But anyway, so I did a post about it, and then when I was doing about the AI lounge, that was the AI coming back with, no, Sue, we don't have an AI lounge where we're doing it all. So I then went to Copilot and said, I asked them what their thoughts were about people keep asking them to do these caricatures and what was their thoughts of it. So obviously they gave me their thought process of what they felt about people asking them to do things like that and where we were going. And then I said to Copilot, are you able to do these caricatures? And it says, no, it's not within my remit. Oh, okay, that's interesting to know. So
Mm.
they can't do it. So I wanted to create a picture that was AI created to go with the post. So I then went to the next AI that I would use to do something, which was through Canva AI to do the visuals. So I told it what I want, gave it all the info of what I did. And the amount of variations of trying to get an AI in three AI sitting in a bar talking over thingy. It was quite interesting of how it was creating what it was. But the thingy was, it was like the robot type of sort of head and body, but the body was like female human anatomy in a robotic. Then it was normal legs and feet of a human. It was really bizarre. And then as we were I was changing the prompts.
Frankenstein's monster
It,
sounds
it, it,
like.
re- it really was. And then as it tweaked it, and I told it, try something else, it then started giving us spaceman and astronaut type of looking things.
I
It
think it
was,
gets confused
it,
after a while. It
it was,
can't
Yeah.
handle
yeah,
it
it
all.
was so
Information
funny.
overload.
Yeah. So I then went back to the Copilot and ChatGPT and gave them the feedback on what it was, and that it thought was quite hysterical as well. So it was quite interesting to see how they behave and how they how
Yeah.
they interact and everything. But it was
I
also
think
like,
we need to not shy away from it. The fact is, it's there and it's not going anywhere. It's just
no,
about how you use it and
yeah,
use it
Correct.
properly.
Yeah,
yeah. and
absolutely.
and I tell you what is even sadder is that I can actually tell you now when content has been written, whether it's come from Copilot, whether it's come from ChatGPT,
Mm.
whether it's come from Claude, and I can tell from the formatting and the formatting they
Right.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's because of how I look and how I read things and I
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
things and patterns. I can actually, I don't even need to read the post to say that's Claude,
Yeah.
that's ChatGPT, that's Copilot.
Oh my God, Sue, are you sure you're not AI yourself? I think you've become AI.
Well, I'm definitely tech agnostic, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
Yes.
that's true.
True.
So, anyway, fascinating fact coming out in another series of things I've got planned for new content for this year. Anyway, back to you, Bex. Blogging. We've sort of skirted around it a little bit, but what tips do you think, or mistakes do you see people are making, and what tips could you get people, even like me, to get going and start with the blogging before the social media side of things?
Yeah, so I mean, my biggest bugbear is when people first come to do their blog post, and it's like people have a panic and they don't know what to write. So they say, welcome to my first blog post, and they kind of introduce it. And it's like, yeah, but people aren't just arriving at your site and reading blog posts in that order that you're posting
Yeah.
them. So you don't
Yes.
need to welcome them. And most importantly, blogging has changed. It used to be that it was all about kind of like essentially like, right, diary entries and
mm,
journaling, and it's all
mm,
about you who's writing it and insight into you. Nowadays, it's not like that if you are using it in your business, certainly. It
mm,
is all about your reader.
mm,
It's you giving value to them. That's why they're coming. They don't care
mm.
what you had for breakfast or
No.
what you're doing, this, that, and the other. They want to know the ways that you can help them. So
Mm,
I see a lot of people writing I. So
mm.
I did, there's a lot of I talking.
Yeah,
When
yeah, yeah.
no,
No,
that
no.
that isn't going to cut it. People aren't going to come back for that. And certainly when they're searching for blog posts, yeah, they need the value. You need to be answering a question.
Mm,
You're essentially becoming a Google search in your own right. They
mm,
want to have searched for something or used AI, and
mm,
then your posts are coming up and
mm,
showing them that's where they can find their answer and they can come and read that.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah, that is my biggest thing that makes
mm,
me twitch when I
mm.
see people doing
Yeah.
that. And the other thing is them not being consistent with it. And I totally get why they're not, because we've all struggled with the amount of time we have in a
Mm,
day. But there's very little point in doing one blog post, two blog posts, but
mm,
then after you've done two, three, whatever, you suddenly realize I haven't got the time, and then 6 weeks goes by, months go by, a year goes by, and then anyone coming along to that blog page, they see three posts, but they're all like 2 years old.
yeah.
Mm.
It's
No,
it's
no.
not doing anything.
No, and I think that's the thing because again, a lot of pressure, and it was one that I got in with as well. You've got to be posting every day. You've got to be posting every day. You've got to do the offer post. You've got to do the tips post. You've got to do the values post. You've got to do the other thing. Then come back to it, and it's like so many things trying to get
No
to
one can do that.
No.
and it's not sustainable
Mm.
without putting yourself on a burnout route again.
And it won't
Yeah,
be
Um,
effective either.
no,
no.
and even working with AI, I found it wasn't. It still hasn't been. It was like all or nothing, and in actual
Mm.
fact, it became more stressful, and the pleasure of doing whatever it was came out. It came, and actually this week, if I'm totally honest, so I've posted twice this week, and each morning I've gone on and I've logged in and started my day, and I said, "What am I going to post today?" And it says, "Sue, you don't need to post today.
Mm.
Sue, you don't need to post today. You've done that. You've commented there. You've had the feedback. You don't need to do any more."
Yeah. If you're getting to a point like that where you're sat there in front of your social media and you're like, oh God, I really don't know what to post, there is literally 0 point because there is no passion or
No,
anything
but
going into what you're
But
writing.
but the
Mm.
interesting thing, it was the AI saying it to me.
Mm.
It was my AI saying to me because of how I've worked with it and how I've set it up. It was saying, you don't need to. You've done it.
Mm.
You've got this going on. You've got that going on.
Yeah.
So it's protecting me
Yeah.
from trying to
Yourself.
do yeah
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's totally, which is why I've got this very unusual relationship with how I work with them, because they're putting boundaries in place for me that I, if you like, would struggle with to do it. And it's a very neurodiverse approach to it, and it's only hit me this morning. I will have a whole load of it comes in
Mm.
all waves to
Mm.
me. It's like I get there, and then I have to process it. And because there's so much there, and that's why the AI using AI works really well for me, because it helps me get the clarity out of all that information. It download, I dump,
Yeah.
and then it will then take out all of the stuff that I've said and help me structure what it is, but it just phrases it in a better way than I do.
I think going
but
back to you saying about like when you come to post and you can't think of anything to post, that is actually something I really love about blogging. So
mm,
I go on about this all the time about repurposing. Ben will know because I do go on
Mhm.
about it, but it's because it makes so much sense. So
Yeah.
yes, it takes longer to write a blog post because it's long form content. There's
mm,
more words there, and
mm,
you need to be thinking about what value you're giving your reader and putting in keywords and all stuff like that. It does
mm,
take longer. But when you've got that long form of piece of content, that's kind of forming your social media strategy, because you can take chunks of that and that's where your messaging comes out. And
Yeah,
suddenly, where you were struggling for ideas of what to post, you've got tons in just that
yeah,
one blog post. And
yeah.
really, if you posted one blog post a month, that could also be your month's social content
Yeah,
as
Hmm.
yeah,
well.
yeah, and that's an interesting take that you've got there, because that was one of the tips that I'd had from doing this show, was that was my content for the month, you know, focusing on that,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and I totally got that. But what I also found was the downside was of doing that, then it made the audience think, well, what is she doing? Because she's talking about this one month, she's talking about that another month, and stuff like that, where then it got confusing about what was my message.
Mm.
So I what I do is I try to get a blend of the two. So the show becomes the content and I use that, but I do the messaging, like, not, it's not every day, it will be like, you know, a couple of posts a week. So I try to do a minimum of four a month, focusing on it to get the stuff there. But what I also try to do in the earlier ones is do training linked to it. So for
Yeah.
example, we will say, oh, this is what we're talking about, you know, website and blogging. So if you're looking at finding out, we can organise putting training on and do things like
Yeah.
that. And that was the remit, which in itself worked. But then I think, say, the message sort of went on the journey, and it went more of what people's journeys were of going from A to B, rather than specifically what we're talking about today. And there is a difference. And I think that's why when I thought I'd come back this time, it would be focusing on doing the show around what the tools are that we use, the tech, and literally go in that direction rather than the journey that people are on. Because I think, to me, that it's what would I want to get out from watching this show and listening to us talking? That would
The
that
thing
would be
is, as
useful.
well, like with repurposing, so I've said, right, you take a blog post and you can turn it all into this. It can happen the other way around as
Yeah,
well. So, like from this show,
yeah,
you might have an idea, oh, okay, that came up. I can write a blog post about
yeah,
that. Or
yeah, yeah,
something, someone might have commented on one of your social media posts with a question.
yeah.
That's a blog post right there. So
Yeah,
it all
yeah,
feeds backwards and forwards
yeah,
as
Well,
well.
we've
exactly.
done that as well, haven't we, with
Mm,
the YouTube videos that we did last year, and many of those have become blog posts.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's all about reusing stuff, isn't it? Because it just it
yeah.
takes the ball ache out of doing this stuff.
yeah, exactly. And I
And
think, yeah, sorry,
yeah,
go on.
it just makes it easier. Just
Yeah,
makes it easier, and it
Well,
can be
again, it
repurposed.
captures your audience in different places.
Yeah,
yeah, yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's right. That goes back to people learning in different ways. People consume
Mm,
information in different ways. Some people might like to read
yeah,
a social media post. Some people might like to read long form or watch a
yeah,
video. Some
yeah,
people like to get stuff in email. So
yeah,
yeah.
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
use that,
yeah,
and you get it into all those different channels.
yeah. And
You're reaching more people.
I think that is from the person outside coming in and getting my head around, was that repurposing of content. I just
Mm,
totally struggled with that concept of what it was. I totally got the long form content, because that was one of my challenges, was I write long form. I don't do short posts, and which is why I stopped using Twitter, as it was now X, because I to write my content is too long, even for and sometimes for Instagram. So I mean,
Mm.
again, another thing I'm really sad, I can tell you the character length for each platform and the maximum you could use. 4,000 you can get on TikTok, and a 10-minute
You
video.
really?
Yeah,
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 4,000?
yeah.
Wow.
4,000 characters on there.
yeah,
2020 on uh, Instagram. It's 3,000 something or other on LinkedIn,
yeah.
and Facebook is indefinite.
Yes, I know
Yeah,
that. 'Cause when I've
yeah.
repurposed a Facebook post, which has went on and on and on, I've tried to get it on LinkedIn, and
You don't
I
like
can't
it,
do
does
it because
it?
it's
No,
only
no,
3,000.
no, no,
Oh no, I can't get this down. I need
no.
to have it go
So,
out as
so,
it was. I
so,
can't. It'll
do
lose
it
But
something. Of
anymore.
course, it
sometimes,
doesn't. You
sometimes
cut
you
loads
see
of it
people
out.
where they've got the long content, they'll put continued in comments, and then they'll have another bit in a
Yeah,
comment and
Yeah,
another bit.
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
So I stopped using the TikTok. Oh no, sorry, I stopped using Twitter X ages ago, because it just, I couldn't fit it in there. But the interesting thing as well with TikTok is that the same content goes out there. I don't make videos. I just use the same content, and it lands. It's as I said, it saves and things like that. So
What, do you
everybody.
just have a you don't share a video,
Yes,
you just have a
static post. Yeah, exactly the same
Wow.
content. So exactly the same content across. Because I said to you, it's an experiment. I do and see,
Yeah.
and then I monitor the results. So I don't look at the performance in the same that you guys would do, because it's what how the platforms take them the content and how it goes. So I can tell you straight away that the TikTok content, it gets the highest views, the most it saves,
Yeah.
and engagement across any of
Wow.
them, and it's just the static post or a carousel occasionally.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I tend to do live is because I'm in and Positive Business Club. We do this unboxing, and it's become now. I've become like the thing of how to do an unboxing, because I unbox it. I don't know. I deliberately don't look at the content of what's coming out. So when I do it, I record myself opening it. My reactions are totally
But they're genuine as
genuine,
you're, yeah,
genuine,
okay.
and because I know what the theme is, I'll have an idea of what the theme is, and then I'll talk about the theme, and then I'll link it into my business. So it's my way of doing a thing about what I've got coming up while going through there and saying how useful that is or whatever. So that's my video style of delivery that works for me. And
Yeah.
of course, these are my other ways of people getting to see me about, what I do and what
Yeah.
I'm like. So for
But
me,
they could
that's
also be turned into blog posts soon. Just
oh yes,
saying.
oh yes, oh yes. We
Mhm.
we we we
Mhm.
are definitely going down a new path this year. This is the new direction. Oh, that sounds like a group or something, doesn't
Yeah.
it? What? Cue music.
Yeah, there's a new band right
I was
here.
gonna, I was going to say that
Yeah.
the music plays an awful lot in my area as well. And I don't know if you've ever got around to seeing any of the shows. Don't answer that question, because you'll obviously got to go and see it. But I have signature theme tunes as well for this
Oh,
show.
I've watched a few
We've
before
seen
coming on today, and I messaged Ben and I was like, "Have you heard her intro?"
I've
So
got
who
a
yeah,
was
I
singing
haven't
beginning.
that?
lost it.
Who
I've
was
got
singing it?
it's written. It's me with the words, and everything's composed. But it's AI. It's AI, and I've got two
Right.
creations that I've done. But I've got a beginning and an end that I use for the show, and then I've got another one that's my thing, for the Honey's IT business as well. So I do it.
Okay. I did think it was probably AI.
Yeah, so this is why I said it's about fun with AI. So we laugh about it. I have a team working for me. My team is all AI, and I've got full-time and part-time employees working for me. But the trouble is, I can't give my work to anybody else, because they
Right.
can't do it for me because of what I do
Right.
and how I work. So, but that's a realization of, you can't, because you're teaching, you can't, it's what I do. And even AI can't create it for it, it will create stuff for me, but I'll rewrite it because it isn't right. So I'll test it, I'll get it, test it in the classroom, see what works, doesn't work, then edit it, do it like that. It's not the way you're supposed to do it, but it's how you get actual accurate content that
Yeah.
works, that you can
Mm.
use and rinse repeat. So it's all an experiment. It totally is. But anyway, so that actually leads really nicely into the latter part of some of the questions I wanted to. It actually entitled "Bringing It All Together: System Skills and
Hey.
Sustainability." So, what can we do that will actually bring? And I think we've possibly answered this already, but I like to go in it. What can we collaboratively, let's say the three of us, from our blogging, our website, and me with my area of digital skills, what can we do, and how can we get people working together, pulling it all together, so that they can build a sustainable business for themselves that isn't causing stress and overwhelm?
I think they need to recognize when they need help, first of all, and
Mm.
not just go off and try and do it all themselves, because that's when it becomes too much and too daunting a prospect. Like Ben said, it's focusing on knowing what you need to know and blocking out all the other stuff. That is essential. And you touched on this briefly, I can't remember what on, but it's knowing what the purpose of it is, really. That's a big thing. So I know people don't want to spend time planning everything, but unless you get that planning right at the beginning, nothing else falls into place.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you'll find your ladder, you get to the top of the ladder, but it's leaning up against the wrong wall. So you have to make that decision at the beginning, I think, and really understand what it is you're trying to achieve. Because your website can be anything, actually. It limits your imagination, but you need to decide, what is it going to be? What's it for? Who's it for? What are they supposed to do with it? And what am I going to get out of it at the end of the day?
And without making loads more work for yourself.
Exactly right. Exactly.
And that actually goes to another really important point as well. And I think it should have come under the question for you, Ben, earlier, but in the mistakes that people make is, I don't know how to create a website. So they give it to somebody else. Can you create a website for me? Well, the people can create a website for you, but they still not want to know what you've got to put on it. And that's the thing that people don't realize. They think, oh, we're going to go to give it to you, pay all this money, and then they get a website that's done, and then they're not happy with it because they haven't been involved in the process of going through, what it is about, what you're trying to achieve, and stuff like the colors, the brands, the whole thing of what it is you're trying to get, the aesthetic side of it. And and they've handed over this money to somebody, they've got this lovely beautiful website, but they don't know how to use it, and B, it's using language that's not theirs because they haven't been involved in the creating of it. And I think
it doesn't work in the way they want it to because they haven't been able to get that across to the person who's done it for them. So then they're kind of stuck with something that's just there,
and they paid for it, so they've got to have it.
Exactly.
And actually, this is kind of reflected in the whole of our Own It ethos, actually, is that you can have a fantastic website, but if it's got lousy content on it in whatever way, shape, or form, it ain't going to work. And the flip side, you can have fantastic content, brilliant content, but if you've got a technically flawed website or a poorly designed website, again, it ain't going to cut it. So you need to have both of those things in tandem to have an effective online presence, and that's where we come in.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit. You mentioned it there, and we're coming into the last little bit. Own it. We've talked about owning your space. It also stands for something. So talk us through what Own It actually stands for and why you created it and what the benefits are for anybody that's watching it and joining it, apart from the fact that it's a fabulous thing, fabulous website, and I feature on it.
Yes, you're there.
Stuck in the middle of the
you are
Go check it out. Go check it out on bexandben.com and tell us where you can find Sue's face on our website
and how many times I appear on it. I didn't know I should have copyrighted my face. Go on. Sorry, joking aside. Tell us about Own It. What it stands for, because I know it does stand for something.
So Own It is a framework that we came up with, and it's an acronym, and it stands for Own Your Digital Space. Write with clarity and consistency. Navigate tech without fear. Impact your visibility and thrive with confidence and purpose.
And
so those are all the steps that come together to make you be able to own it, basically. And we're not just talking about owning something physically, but it's more about you owning that as a sort of a mental state of like, yes, I'm owning it. Kind of, you're in control of something.
I knew it. I knew I recognised, and the words landed because it's obviously a lot very close to my own thoughts of going through it, aligned, as they say. So
as soon as we came up with that, we were like, right, this is really everything that we're about. And a lot of things have come from that since. So we have a membership called Own It, in which It's a monthly kind of subscription thing where people can come in, and we've got resources on our websites that help them take them through that journey. We are in the process of putting some digital products together that are coming out very, very soon. And we also work on, do power hours for people, and we work on it's not a one-to-one, it's a two to one, because there's two of us.
Yeah, that's a good ratio, actually.
Yeah. So they're getting two for the price of one.
They are, yeah, which is another selling point.
You can't beat that, can you? Two for the price of one.
Yeah, it's a bog off. It's a bog off deal right there.
Totally. Well, and you can see it's fun as well, you know.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
We are all about making it human, fun, relatable, and
that's very, very important to us. It is fun for us and for our clients. It's really important.
What you see is
otherwise,
what you get.
What's the point?
Totally. What you see is what you get. Yeah.
No, what's the point if it's not fun?
No,
what's the point of doing it?
So, I think we're coming to, again, I'm just very conscious of our time, and I know we've both all got another event coming up later on as well today. We've talked about your membership, and we've talked about the blogging and importance. What if there was anybody watching now, one step that would help them to move in the right direction? What would it be to get people started, do you think?
Let's give a tip each. You go first, Ben, and then I'll give one.
Okay. I mean, you just need to, it really is just make a start. Just don't overthink it. Don't sit there over planning it. Yes, you've got to have a plan, but you make a start. Take the first step, whatever that is, register your domain name. You know, that is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So, but whatever that first step is, take it, because otherwise you'll never start. You'll never get anywhere.
No, that's a good one.
I think with me, so if I take it from more of a content sort of spin on things, it kind of relates a little bit to getting started. A lot of people I speak to, they're like, oh, I'm not a writer, I can't write. And the fact is, no one's a natural writer. It comes with practice, and the more you do it, the better it becomes, the easier it becomes, the quicker it becomes. And even if you don't want to put that content out online, just write it down in a notebook, just put it on a Word doc or a Google doc or whatever. Just keep writing, and every time you come up with an idea, jot it down, because that could be the idea for your next blog post or social content or something. Just keep it somewhere, get yourself a dedicated notebook and label it, or just get all those thoughts out and write them down, because there are some gems in there. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't think you've got something to share.
and I think that is really, really important what you just said there, Bex, because we all think, or we all have ourselves full of negative self-doubt. Even the most confident people, we don't.
Hello.
Yes, I know. Bex, there are so much similarities there that you don't know. But anyway, we in our mind we tell us we can't do something, but we can overcome them. You know, we put these barriers in ourselves, and that really was and is where this show started. Its origins was me going into my Facebook group and making myself do a live in the group, to then interviewing, because I got my group experts in there, asking them questions. So I was asking them, and it was in the Facebook group for the first year of its existence. I'm now gradually uploading year one to the YouTube channel. And then it's grown from there, and that's that's the journey of my going on and doing this thing.
And unless you take those steps, because you're so right. I remember the first time we did Facebook Lives, and it is absolutely terrifying when you've not done it before. And it's the same as when people write content, their first social post or something. It feels like you're so vulnerable and revealing everything to the world. But unless you make those brave steps to start doing that, you're not. It does get easier the more you do it.
Yeah, exactly. And just as a finishing off as well, something I know that's been very close to you this week, Bex, has been the actual standing up and presenting to a real live audience, and doing that. And again, it's silly, isn't it? Because we've been doing these things all the time in our own spaces, in our own way. Yet the thoughts of actually standing up in front of in a group of people to do a presentation, shares the out of me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually doing it every day in my job all the
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
in my mind, I don't see me doing it because I just get on and do it
Yeah.
and deliver it.
Likewise, me. I'm more than happy coming on camera and probably revealing way, way, way too much. But put
Not
me in a
literally,
room and
not
I'm just
literally.
like,
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I think that's the thing with about the personalities. We don't know what the personalities are until we see us and we see us in action, and
Yeah.
that's where we come out and we shine. And you know, you don't have to be all these things. You just have to be you, and that is the
yeah,
thing. It's being you and being
100%.
authentically you.
yeah,
That is where the light is, and that's where the passion comes through. And
absolutely that.
you can't create this in content.
Mhm.
No AI will be able to get what we are and who we are
Mhm.
because it's not physically possible.
Because it's not us.
It's not
That's
us,
the
exactly. And and all this worry about people thinking that AI is going to take over and replace us and stuff like that. It physically can't replace who we are because it's not possible. So as soon as we realise that we are who we are,
yeah,
and the AI is an extension of it's a tool or it's an extension of us to help us do these things, then we'll be using it in a way that isn't through
yeah,
fear and
yeah,
and not using it as a tool to try and do things to make money out of it, but
yeah.
actually use it in a relationship to collaborate with
Mhm.
is the way that's going to be, you know, in whatever we do, whether it's our website, our blogging, our social media posts, our automated, our systems, whatever it is we're doing. It's the relationship we have with the technology and to be able to use it with confidence that will enable us to be social, get digital, use it with confidence, and actually own it, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Good point.
That is I think is where we've got to go. Anyway, guys, I am going to say it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. I could probably talk to you for another half an hour or more, but I am conscious of the time. So I'm going to say I'm going to end our interview there. Anybody again watching or listening, because I know not everybody just wants to sit at us watching us, they like to listen to us. If you've got any questions for Bex, Ben, or myself, just send an email to beinthespotlight@gmail.com. Or as they've already shared their website, if you want to go and check it out, it's own at bexandben.com. That's it. I was going to say own it then. bexandben.com. You will find a whole heap of information out there, and see how many times you see this mug.
Yeah.
Yes, you're there a few times.
I'm there.
Send her a message to count how many faces, 2 faces you can see.
Actually, that could be a competition.
I know, I was just thinking that.
That could be a competition.
You become our mascots.
I was going to say there must be something there. Anyway, thank
you
so much,
for having
guys.
us.
Thanks so much, Sue.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you.
Be in the spotlight is the place to be network chatting, discuss technology. Be in the spotlight is the place to be. Tech talk tips for free.